year, the industrial market seemed to be unstoppable. You could not let or develop spaces fast enough. But as the war in Ukraine began and then cost pressures continued, the supply chain crisis, skills gap, then we also had a little bit of inflation happen. It seems like what was once a super hot sector is now feeling a bit more lukewarm. So what can we do to secure this market's future? How can we de-risk it? But before we can get into how to de-risk the market, I think we need to establish what the risks are.
I wouldn't say that the market's gone lukewarm. I would say it's probably just normalised. You know, there's, throughout sort of 35 years of doing this, there's always been one sector or another sector which is red hot. Industrial logistics has been red hot for a couple of years. Let's just accept that there will be a period where it's just a normal market.
I think the biggest risk is talking ourselves into a worse economic position than we potentially will be in moving forward. I think as agents and probably as developers and other professionals around the table, it is really all to do with giving measured responses and appreciating that the speed that the market went at in the last 2 to 3 years was exceptional, and that needs to slow down, and by doing that the delivery of buildings will still happen. There may be a short-term logjam moving forward, but we need to actually get sensible reporting in the press and getting people to understand what the situation is and take it at a sensible pace and move forward and react appropriately.
I think that's the biggest issue for me, is the supply of new product. So if you look at the market now, we've got a vacancy of about 3% across the UK, which is the lowest it's ever been. We're going to have a supply gap now. We're not going to have developers being able to bring forward new schemes, new developments, because of inflationary costs. And if you look at what's on the market at the moment, virtually every building that's been built or is being built has got a name against it.
I've been involved in a lot of schemes of late where it's speaking to the agents, it's been such a difficult juggling act, and to go to the market to see what's there and then to find something that's actually fit for purpose or even close to fit for purpose. That's getting increasingly difficult as time goes on and supply is where it is.
Therefore, there's probably opportunities for any developers that can get the funding or, you know, have got a good pipeline and can manage those inflationary costs. You know, for us as a developer, if we can get comfort that there's occupiers out there that still want buildings, then, you know, hopefully there are a lot of developers that might still be in a position to spec build or at least offer buildings, offer sites that can be brought forward relatively quickly.
Power is another thing that's really becoming more and more important. You know, these sites require a sort of better access to power.
We're securing power for sites now that we won't deliver for at least another 12 months because it's that much of an issue, and because of the sustainability of back air source heat pumps, having a building that's so sustainable for the occupiers that it reduces their operational costs as well. So it's not just ticking the sustainability boxes because councils want them, or, you know, there's policy there within the planning departments that, you know, you want a BREEAM excellent building, or, you know, the more automated these buildings are, obviously a lot more power is being used. Power is such a significant, and it's costly as well. You know, you've got to spend a lot of money to secure that. On
a number of the larger development schemes we've been involved with, you actually talk to the tenants about how much power they think they need, and then you look at how much power they're consuming, and we found out that on one of the developments we've dealt with, they're only consuming a third of the power they think they need.
We're looking to put in our leases the clauses to allow us to get the information of how much power they're using and to help educate, so we can work with multi-let schemes where we can reduce their requirement. It's a benefit to them. They're paying a standing charge for all that power. They're all sat on it. Fixing of the problem is national level. It's government investment into it, but it's also occupiers sharing data so they can contribute to allowing some of that power go back into the grid.
What's one thing we need to be doing now to secure the future of the sector?
It's a bit woolly, but communication between everyone, so developers, investors and occupiers, because given where the product is, given where the supply is, given where the demand is, and given how, and we touched on it earlier, you know, you can build to spec, fantastic, there's a cost to that. If it is speculative, then kind of sometimes the costs involved in getting it fit for purpose can be prohibitive. So it's just the communication. It is an immensely complicated process, but I can't see how that wouldn't help, because every now and again a set of heads of terms land on my desk and I go, I wish we'd had a chat 2 months ago.
There needs to be more land available. And going back to the beginning of the conversation, the fact you've only got 2 to 3% vacancy rate, that suggests there is not enough out there. And I think it does go back to planning. So I think through the planning process, make the land available. And I would also say focus on the infrastructure, the transport infrastructure as well.
Early engagement with local authorities to bring land forward for development, because there's a huge lack of brownfield sites.
The biggest thing to assist us in the delivery is the investment by government in the improvements and expansion of motorway junctions, and the support of the reinforcement of the national grid. You'll get your planning, you'll get ready to go, but you haven't got enough power, or you can't put your generation in, or you can't get your vehicles out through the motorway network because there's investment needed at that roundabout, and the network is full, and therefore you can't get your planning permission implemented. You can get your planning, but you can't implement it. So they are big factors that government can play a part in.
Obviously, the industrial sector has been booming over the last few years, and we've seen a lot of space delivered, but still the smaller end, the SME, the small workspace units, still struggle in terms of viability. And there should be, I think, something done, more support done, maybe whether that's contributions from larger schemes that have the ability to deliver, cross-subsidise some of the smaller schemes, or grants available to do them, because they're a really important cornerstone of the economy, and we're not seeing that so much. We're seeing bigger units delivered because that's what's delivering value, delivering returns. So I'd like to see more emphasis put on the smaller end of the market.
Would that be something like a Section 106 agreement, but instead of for affordable housing, it's a smaller...
Yeah, perhaps. If you've got get a consent for 1 million square feet, you've got to build 30,000 square feet of small unit.
And we've got to encourage some of the success stories in the Northwest have been the AO.coms, THGs, the Boohoo's. They all started in these 3 units, didn't they? And we need to encourage them.